I'm sure you've all heard of the Great Resignation, where employees are standing up and saying, I'm underpaid, overworked, and treated like crap, and I'm done with it, I quit. Many of these workers are quitting by text and posting copies of their texts online. And some of these are just classic, and I'm going to share some with you here. This post comes from Been Thinking 77. Hello, Sophie has just quit and we are already short staffed. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it looks like I'll need you to come in on Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I will be out of town visiting my family as I told you in October. You approved it, and I'm unable to change my plans. I'm sorry. Now, notice here that the manager comes in and just gives a demand. He doesn't ask, he's just coming out of the blue. And surprise, you had Thanksgiving off, but I'm not going to ask you, hey, do you have some time to come in and work Thanksgiving? You can make time and a half. Maybe we can work with you where you could come in the afternoon or the evening, and we could switch off with somebody else, and somebody else could split the shift. None of that. Just giving an order that even though you have time off with your family, you've already made plans, you have to give it up because my staffing problem is now your staffing problem. This is typical of how especially lower wage employees are treated. Um, and you also notice that the manager says, Sophie has just quit. So that kind of says something about the environment, right? It wasn't Sophie gave her 2 weeks notice and we knew this was coming. It's or maybe Sophie was sick. It's Sophie quit right off the bat. So just kind of an interesting way that it sets the tone. First with the manager being so condescending and abrupt and demanding, and also you see that the employee, responds rather politely. The employee refuses, but does so politely and stands his ground. I don't appreciate your tone. We had enough staff in October, and what I said no longer applies. Again, I apologize, but I need you here on Thanksgiving. And the employee responds, that won't be happening. Speak to me like that again, and you'll really be short staffed. I love this because, the manager accuses the employee of having a tone. But if we recall from the previous response from the employee, it was actually very polite. The employee apologized and said, you gave me this time off and I'm just not available. I'm really sorry. And the manager here, it's clear that it looks like he's trying to, intimidate the employee and kind of come across, really strong-handed to get the employee to back down and just accept. But the great thing is this employee, and like many other employees, they've had it with this kind of tactic from management, and he actually, called his bluff. And it's like, I'm going to call you on your tone. So clearly, the manager's attempt to intimidate the employee hasn't been working. But what you're about to see next is where the manager decides to double down. You're about to get yourself into some big trouble. Cooperate, or you will find yourself here on Christmas as well. Got it? And the employee responds, yeah, I'm not sure how I put up with your shit for almost a year. I quit. Good luck finding someone, though. And one underlying theme that I noticed too is that the boss seems to talk to this employee like the employee is a child of his. Just kind of ordering them around, and you'll do what I say, and if you don't do what I say, you're going to find yourself working on Christmas too. How do you like that? And if there's any immaturity, it's not coming from the employee. It looks like it's coming from the manager himself. So what do you think? Was this employee out of line, or was this employee right to quit and move on and not put up with this? What are your thoughts? So carrying on with this theme of bosses trying to take away employee time off when they have scheduling conflicts, we have this post by Decano1. Hey Dan, Miguel called in, so I'm going to need you to cover his shift. No, thank you. It's my day off and I'm out hunting. I'll see you on Friday. I wasn't asking you. I'll see you at 3 o'clock. I don't think you understand. I work 6 days a week for you and have gotten my time off approved months ago. I'm not coming in. One day off is plenty of time. I work 7 days a week. I will deny your time off and I will see you at 3. You can't do that. So again, we have this situation where, an employee has their time off. They're already out enjoying their time off. And the boss says, you know what, I'm going to revoke your time off because I have a scheduling conflict and I'm going to make that your problem. You don't have any free time away from this job, right? You're going to be married to the job like I am. And this employer clearly is already overworked. They're working 6 days a week. They ask months in advance to have this day off, and the boss is like, "Sorry, but it's inconvenient for me." And by the way, I work 7 days a week. That typical LinkedIn flex that you see from, mid-level managers who, brag about neglecting their family and having no life and working 80 hours a week so that they can be a manager in a cubicle. It's so pathetic that you see this kind of bragging here, and that, he's trying to tell this, you know, low-level employee that this is something he should be striving for. It's absolutely sickening and incredible that this is the kind of attitude that this manager comes across with. So you recall the last message the employee sent to the manager was, you can't do that. And the manager responds, "Watch me. We will have a chat about your unprofessional behavior when I see you today. If you don't come in, then I will take that time out of your paycheck. You are replaceable. See you at 3." Employee responds, "I quit. Since I'm so replaceable, I'm guessing you should have no trouble finding someone to cover me. Mail me my check." And then, calling the employer's bluff. And then here he responds, "Dan, let's talk about this when you come in. Don't rush to quit just because you're upset. You need to be a team player. Be grateful that you don't work like I do and that I allow you to see your family once a week. We're only as strong as our weakest link." Now, how pathetic is this? First of all, if this manager does work 7 days a week, he's a fool. And second of all, he's a fool for treating this employee this way. And this employee gives him 6 days a week. And he tells him how lucky this employee he should be to just be able to spend one day with his family, to neglect his family and only have one day. And then when he has that day or he has some time to go out and do something for himself, he's going to call him in the middle of that and say, "Show up or you're fired." And so this is a beautiful thing, just simple to the point. I'm out. You cover me. The other thing that bothers me is if you look, this employer says, "If you don't come in, then I will take that time out of your paycheck." I think that's highly illegal. I don't think he can even do that. It sounds like it's probably an empty threat. But just the fact that he thinks he can threaten an employee to take the employee's money to cover a shortfall from other staff, as if the employee is responsible for financing the business. It's so outrageous. And I can see why this employee just all of a sudden said, "You know what, I quit." First line here, "I quit." So if any of you ever had a boss that tried to call you in on your day off and threaten you if you didn't come in, comment in the section below. Let me know if you've done that or if you've ever, quit by text message or just on the spot. Let us all know what the circumstances were.